Oh, okay.
Okay, with that, you guys ready to start the show?
Yeah. We are live, but we're also on tape. We are deep down in the bowels of this music. It's episode 73 of Kamloops last week. It's our first show of the new year. Chris Foulds, Greg the engineer, Magic Mike, and Bill at the controls. 73.
Yes, this is interesting. 73. It's a pro sport record trifecta, and I didn't know this until I thought about it this morning. I said, what's 73? And I looked it up. So 1940, New York Giants lose to the Chicago Bears 73-0. Highest scoring game of all time, highest margin of victory of all time. 2001, Barry Bonds hits 73 home runs.
Juiced up.
Remains the MLB record for home runs, tainted though it may be.
You're a Giants.
I'm a Giants fan, but I'm not a Bonds fan.
Okay.
2015 and 16, the Golden State Warriors set a record for most wins in a season.
73.
Isn't that something?
Amazing.
There you go.
Cool. Our pre-show today was deep, emotional. Mike actually told me a story. We were talking about relationships, and he's agreed to share it. So just an anecdote for no reason. Can you tell us the magic mirror about your story?
You know what I have to do the magic mirror? I have to do this button, and there I am right there.
There we go.
Yeah, so basically we were just chatting about girlfriends and experiences over the past, and I shared a little story about Monica and myself.
Monica being your wife, just in case the viewers don't know.
My wife of 22 years. For some reason, I still don't understand it, but she still hangs out with me for the last 22 years. But after 3 or 6 months, we even phoned her to ask. She dumped me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now why?
Well, she was cooking. Now, you got to remember, back then we were 19, 20 years old kind of a thing. Neither of us could cook. Like craft dinner was like pretty nice, and she made her first lasagna, and it looked amazing. So I got down on all fours in front of the stove and just panted like a dog, like, looking into the stove. And a couple days later, she broke up with me, and she was so freaked out. And it was like 6 months. 6 months later, she saw me playing drums with Evan Wilds and Brian Wiltsey in a band called Bustin' Boards. And from there, it turns out she's really into drummers.
It's amazing that you would get back together and be married for 22 years, and after that happened.
Yeah, I'm amazed I got married, actually. Like, looking back on it, like, ooh.
Did you ever get dumped bad?
Those are the dog days of marriage.
Yes.
The dog days of marriage.
Oh yeah, I've been dumped a few times. I mean, I've been married twice that I know of. So obviously, I've been dumped a few. Everyone's had heartbreak. My kids. My daughter turned 24 yesterday, and my son is 21. And during their upbringing and adolescence, they went through some heartbreaks and tears, and you have to just tell them that there's nothing you can say to them, but you look back and you'll laugh at this. You will. You'll either say, oh, that wistfully, you'll look back, or you'll laugh, or you'll think, man, that was ridiculous. But in the moment, you can't talk to anyone in the moment, because in the moment, to each person, it's a thing that needs time.
Yeah.
It's a cliche, but it's time. If you're heartbroken, all you can do is time will heal it, and it's true. And I've been through it many times.
We're recording, right? Just checking.
Yeah, we're recording. I just realized something. I could actually give you a magic mirror kiss.
Oh, thank you. Here, let's try it again.
Okay, I got to get out of here.
Oh, no.
Sorry.
The
Okay,
top 10 section.
That's so nice.
And we've jumped the shark.
We just jumped the shark. Okay. Top 10 stories of the year. Kamloops last week. We're going to go through them all. I kind of disagree with some of where you've put them, the order, so we could talk about that. Mm-hmm. But first, Mike, Foulds and I, we had a big New Year's, didn't we?
Huge New Year's. Yeah. It's one of those things that you talk about for years and years and years afterwards. Hey, Chris?
Well, yeah, because we were going to say, well, we've gone snowshoeing, we've got a lot of hiking, we do a lot of outdoor stuff. So we thought, let's just get a little bit hedonistic. So we saw that there was a punk rock show going on at the Cami Inn. Mm-hmm. And it was a New Year's Eve show, and it was $10 a ticket, so I decided to buy all of us tickets. And
I know you had a lot of leftover money because you've been buying McDonald's coffees. They're so cheap.
$1.05 with tax.
I got to back up for a second. Did you say hedonistic?
Yeah.
You love that. So he was obviously dressed up in one of his costumes.
My new word of the day, so I just want to make sure that you share.
So we all met downtown. We all took cabs because we were very responsible people, and we met outside the Cami. And when we walked inside,
well, Mike was wearing a Gord's costume for some reason, probably because he loves the company because they're such a great company out there on the North Shore.
Great company, but the other reason, as you know, I like to dress up as animals for Halloween, that kind of a thing. And the stuffed animal right there, the Gord's Maytag Gordy there, I thought would be perfect.
Yes. Now, you were actually the only one that was warm when we walked into the Cami, because in the Cami, what had happened was the heating and the cooling systems.
Yeah, they had busted.
So who did we have to call?
Well, we didn't have to call him because Vinny was there.
He was already there.
He was already there.
He was in the band.
And so he came out from Cold Mechanical.
Yes, Cold Control Mechanical. They do all your HVAC, and they're so trustworthy and reliable.
They totally fixed me up in such a way, and it wasn't about the money. It was about getting the job done properly for what I needed.
With honesty.
Honesty. Integrity. Yeah.
Integrity.
Honesty, integrity. And that's what we have on this show, too.
That's absolutely it.
And you know who else does, too? Gord's, because their Gord's Giving Back program, they're so benevolent.
I like that so much. Did they find? They found their delivery guy. I got Greg back here, which is good.
Yes,
Greg did yours.
I think he got fired from there, and he came back here.
Yeah.
You might have to fire him again.
Yeah.
Greg, your hair looks really good today. Lots of volume.
Yeah. Great volume.
Donnie volume. We have 4 Blazers tickets to give away today, too. How are we going to do that? It's this Saturday. They're playing, do you know? Kelowna.
Yes, Kelowna.
Greg, the engineer, knows. We have 4 tickets. What we're going to do, I'll make a little Instagram post of this little clip right now. Tag Gord's Kamloops, McDonald's Kamloops, and Cold Control Mechanical in this post, and you'll be entered to win the prize. Next week, the show, just a sneak preview, we have Kelly Olynyk, a big fish coming on of the Utah Jazz.
No, the puppy's good. She's actually, I don't know if I can you flip your camera in this? I don't even know. She's sitting right here, if you can see her.
Oh, what's her name?
Millie Rue.
He's a big deal. He's an NBA star. He'll be on our show next week. One more thing about sponsorship before we go to the top 10. Can we get You Are the Magic Mirror cam right here, okay?
Yes. Yep.
We are going to sell this as a sponsorship because right now you have all these mad scientist scribblings.
All the writing and stuff. We got to get rid of that.
That's going to go. It's going to be your logo, or let's say you're a garage door company. Maybe we can pull down a garage before every show, and it's going to be the Magic Mirror brought to you by your company. And Mike features on our show. He's just a part of the show now, so you're going to be up there all the time. So contact me at klw@kamloopsthisweek.com and get in while you can, because we're going to sell this thing in a hurry. I'll tell you that for nothing. Okay, let's get to it. The top 10 Kamloops news stories of 2022. But first, a word from Gord's Appliance and Mattress Center.
Don't want the 9-hour cycle, please.
Friggin' $500 hydro bill, piece of trash.
I need to speak to Gord on the 9er.
Hey, no, I'm actually Steve, the new owner.
First things first, pal, you should probably update your sign. Number 2, my dishwasher is tangled again. The 9-hour cycle, hydro bill through the roof. You guys don't fix appliances, I know that, so I need a new one.
We actually do fix appliances, but if you want, I can show you some new ones first and have a look. You got a price in mind?
Money's not an obstacle for me.
Money's definitely an obstacle. He's the cheapest guy in Kamloops. Ain't that right, Darby?
Well, this here is going to be your Cadillac model, top of the line. This is our middle of the road dishwasher, just a great dishwasher at a great price. This is our budget friendly model, still a great dishwasher, just at a bit of a lower price.
Price doesn't work for me. Let's see if we can fix mine at home.
Alrighty then. There you go, seems to be good. How's the fridge working?
The fridge is fine, Gord.
It's Steve.
Number 1.
Number 1, we decided that number 1 is the election of the new council. It would have been up there anyway because it's a brand new council. Unusual for the first time in a long time. A lot of turnover. Usually in council there's only 2 or 3, but it was a big turnover. Most notably the mayor.
Mm-hmm.
And
even when we were doing our kind of lead up, when people were still entering the mayoral race, I think you maybe thought that Reid wasn't even going to enter at one point.
We were talking, saying, well, he said he's going to run. He didn't really do a formal announcement like anyone else did with a press conference. He just said, I'm going to run. We didn't doubt that he was serious about trying to change things, but we just thought maybe he would, as the other people, especially the incumbents, had their press conferences and had all their long platforms. We thought maybe he's going to talk to his advisors and say, well, maybe I'll run for council at first, or maybe I just won't at all. We some of us thought I thought that was a possibility, but he surprised everybody.
When he goes from kind of off the radar to favorite in a hurry, and then he wins.
And then he wins. That's right. And like Dieter Duty, his challenger, and Arjun Singh both said that he tapped into what people were concerned about more so than they did.
There was a lot of anger about street issues, and he had a front row seat to that.
A lot of people wanted something done, no more talking, no more studies, no more, I guess you'd say, just kid glove stuff. They wanted stuff done, help the people who need help, the ones who are criminals, get them off the street, take back our streets. Now, that was the result of the election. It's very, very early. It's not even 3 months since the election, but now they want to see results. And now we'll see whether or not there can be results, or whether this new council will realize what the old council realizes, that they can do as much as they can, but maybe not much will change.
And he has been kind of a divisive figure, even for the people, the voters, and also on council a little bit, but they're putting on a good face now and saying that we're going to work together, and we have to work together. And I know you and I, we're going to give him a chance. He's going to be on our show.
Yeah, on a monthly basis. I think he's going to be on later this month.
January 18th, Cold Control Mechanical is going to bring to you Reader's Digest.
The second episode, the second installment, where we're going to have the new mayor on a monthly basis to talk about the issues. Now, his term started with a bang. There's all these in-camera meetings. Yep. He was recusing himself because of perceived conflicts of interest. There's a lot of emails going, a lot of infighting, it's just bizarre. New Year, first meetings on the 17th. Maybe we'll get back to normal.
And he's not a politician.
No,
he's not a politician. He's not afraid to speak his mind, and also not back down.
Yeah, that's right.
So we'll see how that plays out.
Yep.
That was number one. Hey, Mike, any thoughts from you on the mayor?
I'm excited for Reader's Digest. It's like an inner looking for the mayor and to see what's going on. So, I'd agree with that. That was. I've got my top 10 too, but that was a good.
What would be number one on your list?
I think it was Buddy the Elf.
We're not doing top 10 show moments. Have you ever had cases of candy canes just going missing?
Yeah, it's happened once in a while.
Yeah.
But you always find a passed out elf in a pool of sugar, and you figure it out quick.
Not top 10 show
Kamloops
moments.
news stories of the year. What do you think was the...
Well, obviously, Riversong winning that big award.
Riversong, it's easy.
Really, I'm biased a little bit, but that award that we won was pretty
That's
amazing.
a pretty big one. That was actually a big deal.
Yeah.
That was on the front page of a newspaper somewhere, I think.
Yes.
Yes, I think so. Yes.
Mike was more happy with the Castanet coverage, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, inflation. You have a number 2 on your list.
Yes, and it could have been 1 based on.
I think this was a little high for me, but.
Are you kidding me? It should be number 1, maybe even 1. This is the most important thing impacting everybody right now, from interest rates to
Tell me why.
When are you renewing next for your mortgage?
Oh, I just did, and I got.
Yeah. There you go.
Skewered.
I went out yesterday looking for, everyone's looking for food and coffee, and a head of lettuce was $8.99. It's ridiculous. It's out of control.
No, I know. It
and that's why I put it up there, because it's an issue over which we have no control, but which affects all of us more than any other issue, more than the social street issues, more than the social order, inflation, because it permeates every aspect of your spending power. I know they're no longer a sponsor, but I'll give heads up to New Leaf Produce, because I saw an ad in our newspaper, and they have romaine lettuce for $2.99 a stalk.
You are obsessed with lettuce.
Here's the thing.
Always with lettuce.
Here's the thing. I just noticed it because
tall people and lettuce.
Yeah, tall. Well, yeah.
David Eby. Ooh.
Eby's tall. He's huge.
And he has nice lettuce like Greg too.
Yeah, he has good lettuce. Yeah, good lettuce head. But he $2.99. So you wouldn't even notice that if not for inflation. You'd think that's a little high, or that's about average. When I see $2.99 in a real world, a little high. But now I'm thinking, what a deal, because they got us now. Yeah. It's like gas. Gas goes up to $2. We're pissed off. It goes down to $1.70. It's still 40 cents more. But we're like, oh, thank you, overlords. Thank you.
It's big brother.
It's big brother. So I'm just saying, the inflation's a big deal. It's and it affects the supply. It affects everything. So it's a huge deal. It's not getting any better yet. Hopefully this year gets better. They say at the end of the year we might see a reprieve. So this is going to be a tough year again. Led by inflation.
To your point with that, I was in the grocery store the other day buying. I normally buy this big bag of coffee.
Yes.
And it was half price. I was like, oh yeah, that's great. It was half price at $10. It's a $20 bag of coffee now, which before was like $13.
Yeah, yes, that's what I'm saying. Even half price is
I'm like, oh, that's a great deal, but really,
that's what they want us to do. That's why sometimes you got to go to the, people say shop local, and that's great. You do shop local, but sometimes you go to Costco. You can't afford not to go to Costco.
I think my issue,
or buy bulk stuff like that, if you're not going to go bad, right?
Yeah, I think my issue with your placement though is you have COVID so low, which we'll get to, like the COVID-19, copious COVID crap you put it, like in everything involved.
COVID, yeah.
But okay, we'll get to that later when we'll talk about COVID. We're moving on to number 3 here, and it's actually brought to you by a brand new sponsor on our show, BetStamp. BetStamp. So if you're a sports bettor, just like you and I are, and you want to find the best odds for your wager for the bet that you want to make, you need BetStamp. You want to go line shopping at BetStamp. It's like the Trivago. Know the Trivago guy? He's kind of a weird, middle-aged looking guy.
Instead with the beard and.
I'm thinking.
No, he's actually clean shit. He started out looking really, really shabby, and then they cleaned him up because he got popular. But Trivago is the website you go if you want to find a hotel.
Yeah.
Instead of going to a million different sites, you go to this site and they find the best ones for you.
This is like for betting.
This is for betting.
So it's the Trivago betting. So if you want to, you say, I want to bet on the Canada-USA hockey game today, but I don't know what the odds are. You go to this site, BetSnap, and it'll show you every different book and what the odds are, and you can say these are better odds, these are better odds.
You know what's really good with that is that I've watched you guys do all these sports bets, and being a music guy, I don't really know sports that well, so I only go with who I like better as to who I think should win. So I won't say who that is, but now I can actually take your bets, look them up, and see who's going to be better, and bet on that.
You could also
make some real money.
Find some music-related bets, like the anthem at the Super Bowl. How long is it going to be? The over/under on that.
Yeah, you can bet on the time. You can bet on who's going to win the Grammys and all that.
And make sure you use BetStamp when you do it. You can find more sports books. Find winning bettors to tail. You need that. You need all the help you can get. Get the best odds at BetStamp. Make sure you use our promo code, which is MartyH, all caps. Let's move on to number 3.
Is that BetStamp.com?
It's BetStamp, the app. Download the app.
Oh, the app.
Yeah, I probably should have mentioned that off the top.
The app.
Get the app.
It's a good app, actually. Yeah.
Number 3, street social issues.
Yes, and this bleeds over from year to year, especially since 2017. That was a bad wildfire year that resulted in the most evacuations, I think, in the last decade.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people who were evacuated from smaller towns, Williams Lake, 100 Mile House, a lot in the Caribou. A lot of the people who were evacuated were already in dire straits. They were marginalized. They were either homeless or in precarious housing situations. They came here. They stayed. Remember, Sandman Center was filled. Christy Clark came up here in her last days as premier. And a lot of those people had nowhere else to go. And that is, I'm not saying all the people on the street are from there, but it started what I think people saw is the acute problem that we have now.
Yeah.
And it defined the election campaign last year. It defined our new council for sure, and that's going to define the city going forward. So it has had a seismic impact, not just now, but in the years to come.
Yeah, I think for me and for a lot of people, it was hard to kind of find a line between being socially conscious and also understanding that people like Mike's businesses are being affected, and where is that line? And it's different for different people, and that can be kind of divisive too. I mean, people going at it over that.
And especially online, which is a mess at the best of times, but online you would have the polarization of politics and everything. You see the polarization in the social issues argument, where you'd have people, what I would say is a reasonable thing, saying those who need help should get help, those who are just criminals should be taken care of, and then we figure out the middle. But online you have people who are either on one extreme saying, they're all bums, get rid of them.
Yeah.
And then you have people on the other extreme who are saying, who go as far as to criticize business owners for complaining about that, blaming the business owners for getting broken into because, well, what are you doing to help the situation? So it becomes very polarization, and it is polarizing because everybody's impacted.
Yeah. This is a good one for you to comment on because you are at the heart of it.
I'm torn as well because I think that these people need help and need services and that kind of stuff. But at the same time, I feel like some of the placements of where they are cause them to migrate from place to place, and I'm right on the trail. So I get a lot of issues. Somebody stole I was about ready to throw it away. It was an old dust collector in the parking lot here. and I noticed it's down at my neighbor's place. I got to go collect it.
What's a dust collector?
It's a bags for collecting dust from when you're building guitars and
Oh,
stuff. The motor
okay.
died on it. It's useless. It's garbage. But somebody stole it out of my lot and dragged it half a block away, and I got to
Yep.
go pick it up now. But
That's
it's
the
just
latest.
like, I don't. Ah.
Yeah, well, and then the one that still sticks in my mind for you is it's
the gas cam
it's
one?
the gas cam one. It's like you can understand almost someone stealing a battery because there's a purpose. They're going to make some money off it, or they need money for something. You can understand why they do it. You're not excusing it, but you can understand it. But for someone just to put rags in a gas tank and ostensibly to light it on fire is just destruction with no reason, and that's what gets me. It's like there's no point to it.
I agree. Yeah, and I think that's the mental health.
Yeah,
part
that's
that
and
really
that's where
needs
it comes
to be
in.
helped.
It's obviously someone with issues, and it goes back again to the start. How do we figure that out? So yeah.
So David Eby, here's what you need to do. You need to give guitars to everybody so they can do guitar music and make music and do happy, fun things with their time instead of trying
And the
to light
province
trucks
should
on
just
fire.
buy them all from.
Riversong Guitars.
Well, here's an
Absolutely.
idea. You have a partnership with the library with respect to lending guitars and ukuleles now.
Oh,
Maybe you should talk to my wife, who's a clinical counselor, about doing music therapy with the guitars.
Absolutely.
There you go.
Yep.
It's great that your wife is a clinical counselor. Because you need it.
Yeah, it is. She's one of the best in town, man.
That's
Yeah.
good. We're going to need some help here. I think all of us.
Oh, she's
Yeah, for sure.
loaded these days too.
Yeah.
Okay, family doctor shortage. That's number 4. Chris?
Yes, and that has been an issue since I moved here in 05. And people phone the 811 number to get a new doctor, and they're on hold forever. I lucked out and got a nurse practitioner at the North Shore Clinic, which is fantastic. It's a team-based approach that was brought in by Terry Lake when he was health minister for the BC Liberals. It's a very good thing, and they should do more of that, and I think they are. But it came up again because our former boss, Tim Schultz was the general manager of K2W, did so much. His absence, we know he's a great guy.
He's a big reason why we have this show.
That's right. And so he left the paper on good terms to go become executive director of the Thompson Region Family Practice.
Yeah.
And it's a government-funded group that in Kamloops of doctors and Tim and his staff. And their whole goal is to recruit and retain doctors in Kamloops.
And they're doing it by donations. It's their Champions for Family Medicine initiative.
Yes. And they're trying to get doctors here in so many ways. He's talking to the city council about offering tax incentives if they build a clinic, give them a tax break for 10 years. They're talking about donations from businesses, like sponsor a doctor. There's all sorts of stuff they're doing, and this is because there is a severe shortage, as we know. But the numbers finally came out in the last couple of months. The Ministry of Health wouldn't give us the numbers. We finally got them from
40,000.
Tim. There's about 100,000 people in Kamloops. 40,000 don't have a doctor, a primary physician. So that's like 40%, and that's
I'm
higher
one of
than
them.
the provincial average.
I can't really do too much whining. I've never made the effort to get on the list, but it's because it's so daunting that I haven't even started.
You just phone 811 to say hi. My
Well,
name's Marty. I need
no,
a
but
doctor.
the wait's going to be 5 years, right?
Well, it's going to be 5 years. 5 years from now
Yeah.
too. What's the old saying? What's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. What's the next best time today? So what's the best time to phone that number for the doctor? 20 years ago. When's the next best
Got
time
this toe
today?
fungus too.
Well, yeah, we don't want to hear about the toe
to
fungus.
be dead,
Jesus
dead
Christ.
within 5 years.
Yeah.
Didn't
I
Bob
don't
Marley
know what to
die of
say.
toe fungus that like?
No, he died of lung cancer.
No, I think it was toe fungus.
Which grew into his from his toe, Chris.
Okay, well,
Everybody knows it
Jeez,
was
I
toe
stand,
fungus.
I stand corrected.
Thank God.
I stand. Anyway, the doctor thing is, I think it's number 4 because it's, again, like inflation, it's one of the issues on our list that people are getting tired of. It's kind of numb to it. We've accepted it, but it impacts so many people. For example, you're relatively young, you're healthy, you don't have any chronic issues. But if you needed to go, let's say you had a recurrent sinus infection, or you had a really, your toe fungus turned into something bad, you'd have to go to the ER and spend 10 hours there. It's a nightmare.
Well, yeah, because we don't really. What's the
For
walk-in
those-
situation too?
There is no walk-in
Yeah.
clinics. There's none left in town.
Yeah.
None. There's
Yeah.
none. In fact, when I had the sinus infection, I couldn't get into my my clinic because it was a 2-week waiting list to get a phone call. They told me call the it's called the emergency. What's it? RH at the bottom there. It's
That's the urgent care.
urgent care clinic. It's not a walk-in clinic. You have to
Yeah.
but you had to phone at 10 in the morning or 7 in the morning.
Booked up by 10:30.
that was
And I got an appointment at 7 at night that night. So I had to wait 12 hours, which is fine. I go in there, they fix me up, they give me some medicine. But imagine if you phone and they're booked and you're in chronic pain, you're an older person, you go to the ER, it's 12-hour wait. You have no options. You have no options.
Yeah, that
It's,
was why. I mean, that's also why I didn't I didn't feel an urgency because I would just go to the walk-in in the past, and
there's
now I can't do that. I just
No.
haven't had anything that's been urgent.
No,
so.
you're lucky, but imagine if you were not so lucky. So that's
2
why
days
it's a big
ago,
deal.
This just happened to a friend of mine. He has a hip problem. He thought he fractured his hip, needed to go in, couldn't get in anywhere. He phoned urgent care, couldn't get in that day. Next day, they told us to phone in. They put us on a waiting list for the day before, didn't get in. Next day, couldn't get in to see a doctor, but they got him hooked up with a physiotherapist who he went in to see because in the urgent care. The physiotherapist then consulted with the doctor that was there, and things are now moving forward for him. But it's you're right. He was in pain.
Yeah.
And where do you go to get even a T3 or something like that if you need it?
That's the thing. Where do you go? And that's the big question. And people
And there's some online options too for kind of medication and prescriptions. If you need a Viagra, for example.
Well, yes, absolutely. Well, there's also some websites on the dark web where you can order some stuff for the fungus. So there you go.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
heard they have a Viagra and fungus remedy all in one.
Oh yeah.
It's a pinky gray pill.
Don't reverse it because you'll kill the wrong thing.
Yeah. Poor Bob Marley. Okay, let's move on to number 5. It's brought to you by Cold Control Mechanical. Reader's Digest coming back January 18th. Guys, 8 a.m. You're supposed to be here that day. They came an hour early today.
Oh, because they thought today was the 8 a.m. No.
We just want to be prepared. So
The mayor's away right now. He's in Mexico, and we've been going back and forth. So we rescheduled his Reader's Digest this month to January 18th. He needs to be here a bit early because he has meetings. So that will be brought to you by Cold Control Mechanical. Check this commercial out right now.
There's other people in the same business, so what makes you guys stand out?
We're cold as ice. We're primarily refrigeration contractors servicing the commercial market, heating, cooling, commercial refrigeration, gas fitting, kind of a one-stop shop.
Well, when you call Cold Control Mechanical, you're getting a personalized feel. You know you're going to get 2 qualified technicians. We both have our tickets. Who you call and talk to is usually who's going to show up at the door. So
If we can find a solution to your problem, we will.
We're both ambitious guys, and we like to get after it. And
I mean more like the jobs you guys have completed with Cold Control, like who you're...
oh, is that what you mean? Okay, we'll leave that out, eh?
Yeah, leave that out.
Yeah, I was like, that's an odd one. That's okay.
I don't know what you'll edit it and stuff. I don't know.
Number 5, lawyer charged in death of TRU instructor.
Yeah, this story is just crazy. It happened in March. It's the lawyer is Butch Bagabuyo. He is charged with interfering with human remains in connection with the discovery of a body in a car in Dufferin. Mohd Abdullah, who was a instructor at TRU. And hasn't been charged in, Mohd was murdered, we know that. But Butch, the lawyer, has not been charged with his murder. He's been charged with interfering with human remains, which means he did something with the body, allegedly. So he's been charged. He goes to trial this spring on that charge. The police have not laid any charges in the murder, and we don't know what's happening. The interesting thing with this story is, it's probably the craziest story you've ever heard in your life. It could be a movie of the week. Dateline. We have all the details. We can't tell them because there's a publication ban plus. So at the bail hearing, some information came up. Michael Potestio, a reporter, he talked to about a half dozen people who have intimate knowledge of this thing. When this comes out, and I'm hoping it will once we can report on it, it will be the most amazing crime story this city has ever heard of. It's really. It'll knock your socks off. It's so bizarre. Unfortunately, we can't say anything about it until the publication ban is lifted, or until a charge is laid and it comes out in trial.
Butch was Mode's lawyer too. Did you mention that? Like he was his lawyer.
Yeah.
So that adds another weird layer of intrigue with it.
Yes, and we only know that. We have to say that we didn't get that from the court. We got that from talking to Mo's daughter in the Philippines, who mentioned that because that information came from free source.
I think it's also, we have to remember, like we talk about, it's this big amazing story like Dateline, but it's also like that last name I know that from is in the sports community. I've seen that name, right?
Sure.
So this is somebody that's in the community.
It's
like imagine how
tragic.
that affects.
Without doubt. I mean, I think it's a given. It's tragedy. It's a tragic thing all around. And there's a lot of murders that happen in Kamloops, and there's a lot of murders that happen everywhere, and it's tragedy all around. But I'm just saying that the details of this story are such that they really blow your mind.
Yeah.
They're really interesting. It's really, really interesting. So that's all.
Okay, that was number 5 on our list. Let's move on to number 6. It's real estate issues. Foulds went really verbose with this topic. It's like an essay. Real estate issues, sky-high assessments, highest tax hike in this century. 2022, first year since 2016, we did not set construction building permit record.
They're all tied together with respect to land and real estate. So Mike just mentioned that his business assessment doubled this week. The BC assessment just released the new assessment yesterday. They did on the weekend, but it's in today's newspaper, and we're writing about it now. So the assessments are based on the market value of a half year ago, July 1st, 2022. And they don't always line up. Usually the assessment and then the value goes up. This year the value has gone down. So if your house is assessed at $500,000 today, that's based on July 1st, 2022, chances are you won't get 500. So you're holding, your assessment's worth more than your house, and that's freaking people out. But that has a way of evening out over the years. The reason this is on the list is because last year we had a massive increase. The single family homes in Kamloops rose by 27%, which I think is a record of all time. Maybe the 80s had something like that. It's an incredible record. At the same time, we had the city had to bring out a tax increase because of all the stuff from COVID. They had a 0% increase in the COVID year, and they have to pay for the services. You have to pay for new cops, new firefighters, pay raises at City Hall. So we had the largest property tax hike this century. The largest one in 22 years. It was 5%. Usually, on average, it's 2.3% on average every year. So that's noteworthy. And the third thing was, every single year since 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20, 5 straight years, we've set records in construction activity. The place is booming. And last year was the first year since 16 we didn't set a new record.
So what's the impact there?
The impact there is that it looks like we're going into a recession. Obviously, that's people see that, but I think the numbers show that too. Construction hasn't plummeted, but it's not record building anymore. Of course, the hospital and the Kelson Group really helped put that up last year. But the construction is slowing down. The interest rates are going up. People aren't buying as many homes because even though the prices of homes are coming down, interest rates are going up. You're at the same place you were a year ago, and it's just I think that's a sign of the economy slowing down. And
do you think it's going to be this terrible recession?
Well, experts way beyond my brain power. I've read everything from it's going to be really, really bad to it's going to be very, very mild. TD Bank, the executive said it's going to be a mild one. Justin Trudeau and Christy Freeland have said it's going to be really, really tough year, so buckle up. Who knows?
Okay.
I'm worried about it, but there's not much. Again, like inflation and like the, what's the other one we had on there? It's something we can't do much about.
Greg's yawning, so we should probably go to the next topic.
Yes.
Greg's had enough of that one. He hates real estate. Okay, the next one's brought to you by...
Well, it's important because a lot of people, Greg, I don't know, do you own a place?
Mike wants to talk about it, or Greg doesn't own a place?
It's important. Yeah, it's, we're trying right now to buy a new building. We're trying to even build a new building, but it's so difficult to even find a lot or a building that's suitable for sale. And because the interest rates and everything have gone up so high, that money that we could spend 6 months ago, a year ago kind of a thing, I can only get 75% of what I could get.
That's right. The stress test and all that.
Keep in mind, in your budget has to be the new KLW studio, which
absolutely.
That's
what's why we're moving. We're expanding.
Cost a lot of money. All on you too. Okay, let's move on to number 7. It's brought to you by McDonald's. Kamloops welcomes Ukrainian refugees protesting the Russian invasion as well.
Yeah, this is all tied to February 24th, 2022. Russia invaded Ukraine and set off all sorts of protests around the world, and a lot of the Ukrainian refugees have fled to Western countries, one of which is ours, and Kamloops has welcomed a number of them through Kamloops Immigrant Services. And combined with that, we saw through March and April, and now there's the odd weekend one, protests or against Russia in support of Ukraine. A lot of Ukrainian blue and yellow flags downtown along Columbia Street in the days after the invasion. But even now, last Saturday, you'll see a group of, I think they might be Ukrainian refugees. There are some refugees from Ukraine, visitors from Ukraine.
We should probably catch up on this on our show, because we were going heavy with it when it first happened. We had Anna Musica on, and we talked for multiple weeks about it, but I feel like it's kind of faded when It's not really fading what's going on.
Well,
the ice arena thing really got me Monday. Another in Ukraine, like a really nice. I saw the before and after shots.
Yeah,
it's like a 7-year-old ice arena just blown to smithereens.
Yeah.
Kids who can't play their sports anymore. I know it's just a sports side of things.
That's
but
important.
And it's also they're saying on a bigger scale. There's no military. It's not a military target, so it's like a war crime.
Yeah,
that's what that's how the Ukrainians are.
Oh, for sure.
saying.
And well, the 1 year anniversary of the invasion's like 6 weeks away. We can maybe do something on that for sure.
Yeah, that's what we should do.
There was a columnist, Brian Lilly. He's a kind of a right-wing columnist guy for the Toronto Sun, but he wrote a provocative column, got a lot of play about. He suggested Prime Minister Trudeau should ban Alexander Ovechkin from playing in Canada because Ovechkin is an overt supporter of Putin.
Yeah.
And someone said, well, you shouldn't bring sports into politics. But then Lilly pointed out that Ovechkin and Pavel Bure and others in the past have staged rallies and supported Putin, even knowing Putin, before he invaded Ukraine, he's been a bad guy for a long time. So it's interesting. That's how sports and politics
they've used their platform, their public persona to advance these things.
Yeah. So maybe it's fair to say, yeah, well, you enter the political realm, so now you're going to get punished for it.
Yeah, and now with Ovechkin chasing history, it's going to be the issue's not going away with how people are going to cover that.
And then people say on the flip side, yeah, he might be a supporter, but if he was to like take down Putin's picture from his Instagram or denounce Putin, his family back in Russia might be in trouble. So yeah, but why are you getting in bed with such a horrible person? Yeah. And it's not debatable. He's a horrible person.
Yeah.
Putin, I mean.
Yeah. Let's move on. Number 8. City Gardens breaks ground downtown. It's the largest residential development in the history of Kamloops.
Yeah, this is obviously, I think, a top 10, I don't know where, down at the bottom, because we wrote about it.
Yeah, you put this above COVID, and it's no business being above COVID.
For sure it does, because locally, it's the largest development in the history of this town. It's going to be probably upwards of, well, they said 200 million, probably 300 or 400 million. It's going to change the downtown landscape. It's going to change the living downtown forever. Nothing will alter the downtown more than this. Well, the only thing that would alter the downtown more than this, or as much, is 1980, they had a referendum, and they created what we now know as Riverside Park. Could have been houses and everything. They preserved it. So the referendum that saved Riverside Park and made it what it is today, a jewel. This is probably more monumental because it's going to change everything downtown, and it's going to spur a lot of stuff going up into 6th Avenue, affordable housing. So I think this is a big deal. When you have the largest development in the history of a city that is 150 years old, I think it's a pretty deal.
I'm not saying it's not a big deal. I just think that 2022 was the year that we started to get past COVID, and COVID affected everybody's lives in so many ways. It's almost like you kind of forget about it, maybe you block it out. But as of this time last year, there was the restrictions, the mandates, and all the things that came along with people protesting and the convoys and how that divided people. And you found out about people's politics, and maybe you stopped being friends with them. That's one little thing. But all of the protesting at the hospitals. But anyway, we're coming out of all that now. And I think it should be higher on the list for me because of all that we've gone through in the pandemic, and we're coming out. 2022 is a major year for moving past that.
Well, we're coming out of the restrictions. We're not coming out of COVID. There's that new Kraken variant that they say might be really, really bad, and it's hitting the States quite hard right now. So
in the general way that we're experiencing, of course, if things come back in,
restrictions and everything, yeah, we're coming out of it.
How it affects us on a day-to-day basis, it's nothing like how it was.
No, fair enough. We're coming out of it, but I just think that people are kind of like, it's almost like your eyes glaze over because we've been in it so long, and it's like we're tired of talking about it. I mean, they stopped giving the daily press conferences. The virus is still there. People are still dying from it. They don't even give the daily press conference anymore because people just got, I think, exhausted by it all. That's all.
Yeah,
I think
we even saw like factions of society that we haven't seen, like people out on the bridge.
They're still on the bridge,
and people protesting at the hospital. Like these are things that you almost don't even really know existed in. Well, they were kind of underground, and then they're here they are.
Well, the weird thing is, I know people, and you know people who are well known in town, and you know people who aren't well known in town, and it's almost like there's the people pre and post COVID, because when the restrictions came in and they lasted longer, for better or worse, some people really resisted it. Some people really said, let's get on with it. With the vaccine, I mentioned my sister's a big anti-vaxxer.
Yeah.
And when the Buffalo Bill defensive back. What's his name?
You mean
defensive
Cole
back?
Beasley?
No, the injury.
Damar Hamlin.
Sorry,
right
yeah.
away they say, it's
well,
the
he you can see he tackled the Bengal and and he got jarred and he also was sick with COVID I think 2 weeks ago or something. But the point is, no one knows, and right away. Oh, I'm so tired of all these sudden heart deaths and all. Like, you don't know.
No,
you don't know.
And doctors are coming on and saying it's absolutely ridiculous.
We don't know.
It's this.
I mean, it could. And I'm not saying that the vaccine is not. It is dangerous. It can be dangerous.
Yeah.
But man, to jump to these conclusions,
the conclusions,
just drives me nuts, man. That's like me saying that everyone who's died has died of COVID. We don't know that. Anyway, you're right. It's caused a division that I've never seen before. And you see it from politics. Look at the states. Holy shit. Right?
Well, it's going to be interesting now to start looking back on it and seeing the studies and analytics about masks and the vaccines. And that's going to, until we die, we're going to be hearing about what should have been done or how did we handle it wrong and what should have we done differently.
Yeah. Well, I just finished a book. It's called 1918. The World Series, the Spanish flu, and the war. And I just finished it, and it's a fantastic book. Skip Desjardins wrote it, and it's all about the World Series that had to end early because of the war, and the Spanish flu, and World War I. And looking back on what they did then, and the lessons they learned, and what they did wrong and right is fascinating to read that. And if we were to have a book, 20, 30, 50 years from now, I look back, some people might be exonerated. Maybe some of the anti-vaxxers will be exonerated because the vaccine wasn't healthy. Or maybe they won't be. But right now it's too early to say, to come to a definitive conclusion. I think there is, and I've gone more to that side, I think there is room to question the safety of the vaccine and to question whether or not mask mandates work without going to the extreme and saying they don't. We don't know. We don't know.
Of course, it's fair to question.
We should always question, and we shouldn't be shot down for questioning. Which is why I think some of us, especially on the side of sort of like the pro-vaccine crowd, sometimes that's more the cancellation crowd, which I hate. So we should be able to question it in a rational, intelligent way.
Yeah.
Not say this is from it, but could it be?
Well, at the time though, in the media, we were essentially taking what the government had said and passing
you're
pass
trusting the experts.
on.
They're the experts. So the guy on Facebook is not the expert. But it shouldn't preclude you from questioning Dr. Henry about why are you doing this and why aren't you doing this. Right now there's no mask mandate in schools, although flu is killing kids, RSV, and Dr. Henry says, well, it's not going to stop the transmission. Well, then why were they wearing masks during COVID if it's not going to stop? See, there's inconsistencies that you have to question. It doesn't mean that you're saying they're wrong. Always be skeptical.
Yeah. Okay, number 10. Chief Roseanne Casimir meets Pope Francis at the Vatican in March.
Yeah, and this is an ongoing year-over-year story.
2021 really, it sparked it.
Yeah, and Chief Casimir and other First Nation delegate representatives finally got to go to Rome, the Vatican City, meet Pope Francis, explain their point of view for what the church had done to them through the residential school system and through colonization as a whole. I think it should have been on there just because it happened in 2022. It goes back to it goes back years if you want to really get into it about the church's role into the
big event that sparked it was 2021 right here
in Kamloops,
the potential unmarked grave discovery, and we were right at the heart of that. And we have our chief from the local band is going to meet the Pope.
Met him in
that's
person.
A Kamloops newsmaker who is among the stories of the year in the world.
Well, she was, and Maclean's magazine had her number 5, and she handed the Pope a letter. So you think that should have been higher? I don't think it mattered.
I think you look at should that have been higher than real estate issues and your love of city garden. Your love of city gardens should have been 10 or maybe an honorable mentions.
Well, I don't know. I think again, you got to look at it from different lenses. I'm looking at it. What impacts the most people? Maybe Bugaboo and Abdullah don't. But it's Bugabooya.
It's Bagabuyo.
Bagabuyo. But it doesn't impact a lot of people. But it has such an interesting angle that it has to be up there. You know what I mean? So I look at it from how many people it impacts. What's the impact? Yeah. Also, the monumental issue of the story. We have other stuff on the list Pope, too, right?
And it came out and apologized, not obviously directly because of Chief Casimir.
No, he finally apologized.
Yeah. And that's a big deal, and that Kamloops is part of that story.
It is,
and so is Chief Casimir. So I think, probably that should have been a bit higher.
Sure, yeah.
I'll weigh in a little bit.
All right.
When Chief Casimir, Cook B. Casimir, was with the Prime Minister and doing all that, she's very stately. She's a regular Kamloopsian. that's been elected into a position, and she held herself very high against the Pope, against Justin Trudeau, our Prime Minister. Like, I was proud of how she talked and worked with that, and I think she made a big change worldwide.
Yeah, and she's getting a lot of experience dealing with these people too because of everything going on.
She handed over the feather, and then she asked the Pope that the Catholic Church be a bigger part in uncovering the truth. And then we get an apology not long after.
In Edmonton, I think it was, right?
And, you know, we're talking about the top 10, right? Any one of them on the top 10 is worthy. It's like going to the Grammy Awards. Anybody backstage at the Grammy Awards is worthy.
We can easily call these, here are the top stories in no particular order.
But it also sucks, Mike, as you know from being a bronze medalist so many times, to be nominated and not win.
Always a bridesmaid, never a bride,
Number one matters.
Well, we have some honorable mentions here that could easily have been in the top 10, and they are. They're notable stories. I mean, the one that jumps out at me here is the opioid crisis. People might say, why isn't that in the top 10? And it very well could be. Again, it's one of those stories that it's news, but it's not news. It's happening, and it's tragic since 2016 April, when the public health emergency was declared. It keeps going. Every month we write another story saying we have another record death, and then we try to do stories on what they're trying to do with it. And now they're doing they're getting some recovery beds, etc. But safe supply is a big debate, but again, it never stops. It just seems that that's never going to end.
No, it's the same with the top 10 list too. I just did my sports top 10. I'm sure I missed some things. People are going to argue and debate about where it should be. It's not quite a crapshoot, but it's not right or wrong. It's subjective. We also had in our honorable mentions for this the gang-related murders. TNRD was a huge story with Wallace and the work that she did, and Suk Gill.
And that was the aftermath of it. There was more to it after the year before, so it didn't. Yeah, but it's an ongoing thing for sure.
Kelson Hall, Valley View Secondary opening its new.
School. That was $35 million, the first new edition since 2001. That's a big deal. And Jesse Simpson finally got to go home, which is a big deal. Jesse Simpson was the poor kid who was beaten, life-altering injuries by Christopher Tycrobe a few years back. He was living at the Hamlets, and I think he's still there, but he got to go home for the summer. And I think on weekends he gets to go home in Savinaw. It's a big deal.
You got resolutions?
No, just the same old, just last year what I did was on the first of every year, I took a picture from my balcony over the valley. And so I'm going to try to, took a picture on the first, so I got 12 pictures, from January, February, just to see the changing. I want to try somehow make that into like a picture
collage?
Thing. Yeah. That was,
and we'll put it up here.
Yes, it looks cool.
That's
you
your
see,
resolution, just like time lapse.
Last year I did that, and then one year, when I was younger, I used to always want to count how many times I go to the bathroom during the year. 1 and 2s, and I'd have a thing, and I thought I should try that again this year. Already it's 2. It's the 4th. I forgot. But I got one time. I got it in mid-February, and I was astonished at how often I went pee. I thought I had diabetes, but
and you may well.
But you can't
go to a doctor to find out.
No, I can't go to the doctor because there's no clinics open. So that was a neat little thing. But I think our poll question at KamloopsThisWeek.com is what's your number one resolution? And I put it into diet, health, watching your finance more, spending more time with friends and family, or volunteering and donating more.
Which was
it's on right now. Go vote at KamloopsThisWeek.com. We'll see what number one is.
Greg, any resolutions for you? More Blazer skis?
You're not going to talk as much this year? Is that your resolution?
Mike, anything?
I always like it to be more with family and friends, because I tend to commit what I call friend abuse, where I just nose to the grindstone, just working all the time, and poke my head up and go, oh, what's going on around? So it's to spend more quality time with family and friends.
I think that's a really good point. I know what I like you work, and when you have finally time, you have some time maybe with your family. Mm-hmm. I have a couple of friends, Cassidy Olivier, best man at my wedding, great guy, and my brother Rick, the cruiser.
The cruise missile.
And they live down the coast.
At the Highwayman he lives.
And they always call me, and I just realized last year that I never ever call them.
You're that guy,
and I feel bad, but because I'm so busy, and they call, I'm like, oh. And so one time, a couple months ago, I finally called Cassidy, just out of the blue, and he didn't know why I was calling. He was like, what are you calling me for? But as you get older, and we're getting older, and it sounds cliche and all syrupy, but you realize that's more important than but you don't realize
Of course,
until
I
you get
want
older.
world dominance.
Yeah,
Of
you
course.
want world dominance, and you want your harem of fuzzies, but furries.
Furries, yeah.
But you do realize the things that are more important.
Harem of furries.
It's too bad it takes you later in life to realize that's really more. Like you say, calling up a buddy is really important. More important maybe than finishing off that guitar.
The hedonistic harem of furries. That's your new
It's
band
been an
name.
interesting show.
Bill, anything? Resolutions?
More camping.
More camping?
Oh, that's good. And the camping, it's open now. You can book 4 months ahead right now. Yeah.
Well, nobody asked me. Nobody cares, I guess.
What's your
but,
resolution this year?
Well, no, I'm kind of like the stereotypical get health. You know, I've been okay with healthy. Just be healthier. One was to grow my relationship, so hopefully that continues on as of tomorrow. And just be. It's going to be a big work this next half of the year with work with
Scotties
the Memorial
Cup.
the Scotties.
Yep.
So just be on that and grow this show too. Grow this show. I last year was a great year for the show. I love the show and I want to take it another step forward next year. And also, you know, with the family and friends, I noticed in the last year or two, just I don't know. For me, it feels like this time of life where all my friends, most of them are in their like first and second kid mode.
Yeah.
And your whole life becomes that.
Oh, yeah.
And there's been a huge separation. I think it was. A catalyst was the pandemic in splitting all these kind of relationships. People stuck to their own clans, and now you're out of the pandemic. And are you going to continue on with these relationships that were so strong before? That's not going to happen unless you try.
You got to get out. Yeah, that's right. You have to
proactively.
You got to get out there.
Yeah,
you got to get involved. The world's not going to come to you.
Happy New Year, everybody. To our 340 subscribers. We've had a big increase of late. Thanks a lot to everybody here for being a part of that. To Last Week Clique out there. To all our sponsors. To Gord's Appliance and Mattress Center. To McDonald's. To Cold Control Mechanical, who sponsors Reader's Digest. We have eclipsed the 350,000 view mark across all platforms. And we're going to get up to 1 million in a heartbeat. I'll tell you that for nothing. For Chris, for Greg, for Gord Stevens, for Magic Mike, for Bill, I'm Marty. We'll see you last week.